Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about fitness and midlife. Join us as we discuss the ways our bodies change and require new ways of eating and exercise. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about fitness and midlife. And recently, we listened to a podcast episode interviewing Dr. Stacy Sims. Dr. Sims is a globally recognized expert in women's health, exercise physiology, and nutrition science. She also has a PhD in exercise physiology and nutrition. Apparently, she's a bit of a fitness guru for midlife women. So, Julie, you first heard of her. I think you saw her on YouTube and you brought her to us. So tell us how you found her and what you thought.
Well, actually, and I can't remember who sent this, but this was a listener that sent this in to me.
Oh.
And I can't remember who it was, but yeah, she said, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, since we have talked about fitness and nutrition a lot. So I listened to it, and she happened to be a guest on the Mel Robbins podcast,
Okay.
which is funny because we have that connection with her book right now. So
Right. Yeah. So what did you think? Did you think, yes, this is worthy of discussion? There's a lot that you found in there.
Oh, I thought it was worthy of discussion, but I'll say that I go in listening to this kind of stuff very skeptical, which is good. And actually, I listened to it twice. And by the second time, I had come around to some things
Okay.
that I could be more in agreement with. But I just go into things like this very skeptical.
Yeah.
But one thing that's kind of her tagline, and I don't know if she's written a book or whatever, but she just says that women aren't just little men. And that really resonated with me because as a pharmacist, we were always told like children aren't just little adults. Like they really are different makeups. It's not just their size. They have different metabolism, different hormones, different physiology, so that seemed like a true statement to me. And it made me want to listen more.
Right.
Okay, so we all listened to the Mel Robbins interview of Dr. Sims on her podcast. And that was called The Body Reset: How Women Should Eat and Exercise for Health, Fat Loss, and Energy. And I don't know any women that would pass this information by. Like we're all always wanting to know how we should eat and how we should exercise and what's going to make us lose weight and what's going to give us more energy. Like I don't know any women that are not interested in at least listening or discussing this topic, even if they don't do any of it. So I feel like this has the potential to have a good conversation. And we're just going to kind of go through her podcast episode notes because those were really helpful. It kind of breaks down what she talked about in the episode. And we're just going to go through and talk about what we thought. So the first thing that she talks about, Dr. Sims says there are common fitness mistakes that women make. And Mindy, I know that you teach fitness classes. So why don't you tell us what fitness mistakes you heard her say that women make? And you don't have to agree with them, but just what did she say?
Well, I appreciate that I'm the expert on the episode.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Let's go ahead and put a disclaimer out there, like right now. I am not a doctor. I really appreciated this part of the episode. Starting again, what Julie mentioned, that women are not small men. And so she talked about, the things that women will do a lot of times are basically what men do. I appreciated she even talked about the setup of a gym. You walk in and a woman walks in and they're like, I want to, basically lose weight. And so they show you all the cardio machines and they're showing you the ellipticals and the treadmills and the stair climbers. And, like all the big machines, like those are for men, or the free weights, like, oh, those are for men. And what she's saying is that women really, cardio is fine, but we need to be lifting and we need to be lifting heavy. And so sometimes cardio is putting too much stress on the body, but not in a good way. We need to actually stress with heavy weight by lifting, that will give us the leaner results that really we've been wanting, trying to get there with cardio. And so I thought this was great. I 100% agree with her expertise on this. And appreciated her thoughts on it. She went into more later in the episode about, not needing as much rest in between sets, how to do your sets, maybe not even spending as much time at the gym as you thought you were supposed to do. So all of those things were very helpful.
One of the things that she talked about that I appreciated, and I think, Mindy, you're probably going to disagree with it, but I asked my trainer about it, and my trainer seemed to think this isn't so much a difference in men and women. This is a difference in people.
Okay.
And so, like, I cannot train on an empty stomach, and I know you do intermittent fasting, but it doesn't work for me. Like, if I do it, I feel weak, I get sweaty, kind of clammy, and I start to feel kind of dizzy. And I know, like, oh, I didn't eat enough today, or I skipped it, or whatever. And she kind of explained that. She gave a reason why women need to eat before, but she said, well, she didn't admit this, but my trainer said, I know trainers that hate intermittent fasting, and I know them that love it. And my trainer said it works. She can exercise on an empty stomach.
Right.
But she said, I know a lot of people that can't.
Right. Yeah. Dr. Sims kind of went into this being a mistake that a lot of women that do intermittent fasting, she called it, we're tired but wired, because we're starting our days with coffee, water, and no nutrients. And so she explained that. Well, the more I listened to Dr. Sims, the more I kind of relegated her like to being an expert in exercise, not so much in nutrition, is how I took it. Because as soon as she grouped women into one group, I stopped listening.
Yeah.
And this is where I was skeptical, because I'm not an expert, but I have been reading Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz. And she talks about intermittent fasting based on your hormonal cycle, your age, like different seasons in life, because you cannot eat the same way every day and all the time. And so we each have a different microbiome, and different people will eat different ways. And so, yes, I like what your trainer told you, Julie, because that's just from living and learning. That's what I have learned. No two things are going to work for, no thing is going to work for two people is really what I'm trying to say. And so, I love intermittent fasting, and I don't plan to stop anytime soon. I feel great doing it, but I'm not going to recommend that somebody else do that if that doesn't work well for their body.
Yeah. And I really do think that was key. Like, she's trying to say that we're not just men, but we're also not just all alike either,
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I thought was interesting was she explained it, and I listened to it a couple times and I still probably won't get it right, but she explained that if you don't eat something beforehand, the hypothalamus in a woman is saying, hey, you're not eating anything, and now you're putting this stress on the body, and where am I going to get the nutrients from? And so it starts to break down your muscle fiber because it feels like it's not going to have enough nutrients to support your muscle fiber, where a man is not wired like that. So if that's true, then I could definitely see the science behind it. But I don't usually, well, here's what I do. I don't eat before I walk in the morning, and I will go for, 45 minutes because I just go right from my bed out to walk the dog. But when I was doing like Burn Boot Camp every morning, I would eat a yogurt on the way because I just felt like that was requiring more of me. And I really needed to have something in my stomach. So it could be even the kind of exercise that you're jumping right into might require different nutrients. I don't know.
I mean, she mentioned a walk too, but
she did.
Yeah. And one of her other reasonings that, if this is true, she said that women wake up kind of with a higher cortisol level and maybe a lower blood sugar, and we're really sensitive to the low blood sugar. And that if you didn't break your fast for a long, long time, then you're kind of you remain in that fight or flight mode longer, and that in that mode, you tend to store fat more. So, again, if you could probably find many other people that say that's not true, that's what's so frustrating is to hear somebody's research and then know you could probably find something that was just the opposite.
I know my thoughts. I love Mel Robbins' enthusiasm. She's so enthusiastic with Dr. Sims, and she's talking about, she's an expert and, all the research. And And I'm like, yes, but everyone's an expert that we hear, like we've read so many books, we've heard from all the experts. And so at the end of the day, this is another podcast about health. We're all in midlife and we all have different hormonal ranges happening all the time because we're in adult puberty. So I think that you still have to choose who is the expert you're going to listen to.
Yeah. Or if you try something and it doesn't work for you, then you can't keep doing it,
And don't do it.
Okay, so just to recap, some of the mistakes she said that women are making, doing too much cardio, not lifting heavy enough weights, not eating before a workout. What were some of the other mistakes that she said that women make?
Kind of at the very end, she did talk about diet trends, and she said something a little, not controversial, but I know my trainers always said you can't out-exercise a bad diet. And she said, maybe you could let go of all the diet trends and just, eat 3 square meals a day and cut out a lot of snacking and then exercise. Like the exercise would give you the same results as the diet or the nutrition. And so it may just been the way that she explained that, because that was a little different for me to hear. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I guess I took that a different way. I took it as, rather than getting on a fad diet or way of eating, if you just eat nutrient-dense whole foods in moderation and exercise, it's probably going to work itself out. That was how I took it.
Yeah, like kind of going against the trendy diets. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So obviously 3 people can listen to these things and not even understand maybe exactly what she's going for there. But I did think that the episode was very interesting. Another thing she said, that women are on the pursuit of thin all the time, and thin doesn't necessarily mean healthy. So she kind of talked about skinny fat. And basically, you could be thin, but you have a lot of fat, I think, in proportion to your body. And then also your bones are chalky. And this is kind of a scary picture.
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was a bit extreme to call your bones are chalk.
So I could see that, though. Like, if you are always in a calorie deficit and you aren't really feeding your body good foods, but you happen to be thin, I mean, your bones could be unhealthy. You could be overall unhealthy. Just because you look thin doesn't mean you necessarily are healthy. It doesn't mean you're strong. It doesn't mean you have endurance. It doesn't mean your body's healthy. That's what I took from it.
Right. Well, and I feel like the skinny fat term really relates a lot to the fad diets that we were just referencing. Anytime you change your foods and start doing extreme things, or you think, I'm just going to drink shakes all day long, or I'm just going to take this pill or take a shot now, those things, you might be thin, but you might be really unhealthy and really sick underneath the surface. And so I think we're talking about optimal health, what we can all see, but also what we can't see. And so, definitely going to your doctor, going to your yearly, getting yearly blood work done. And yes, trying to eat a good diet of dense foods so that you can have lean mass and good overall. And she talked about your neural health as much as your physical health. And so I think there's a lot more to that.
Yeah, and she said that, it's just it's a response to the constant messaging of thin is preferable. That's the overarching message.
Right.
And I appreciated when she talked about eating maybe before your workout. We can talk about it later, but she talked about splitting your breakfast. Like if you just need to eat a small amount, that she also said that's just an opportunity to eat. Like it's more time to eat because women tend to undereat. And I thought that was a good message, that you need time to eat. It would be hard for me to eat a lot in a short amount of time. So spreading it out is helpful for me.
Well, I know we mentioned that women need to be lifting weights, but why should we be lifting weights? And I just hate that in your 20s, you don't have to hardly lift anything at all. Then in your 30s, you have to lift a little bit more because you start to lose muscle. And by our age, we really need to be putting a bigger emphasis on lifting weights. And that's always been the thing I hate the most. I could do all the cardio in the world, but I have a mental hurdle to get through every time I pick up a weight.
Mm.
Yeah. But it builds your bones because your bones, I mean, the bones you have today aren't the bones you had last year. They're constantly breaking them down and building up. And you have
Right.
to have that resistance, that weight to do that.
Mhm.
And as you age, it doesn't keep up anymore. Like early on, it's replacing and building the same amount. And then as you age, it begins to not be able to keep up and you get porous, fragile bones.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
you can.
Get chalky.
Marie, we don't want you to be chalky.
Chalky.
That's what I was gonna say. Marie, you need to be strong out there on that pickleball court.
I know. I'm
Okay?
disintegrating as I walk. The chalk is just floating off me.
Just floating away. There she goes.
Little dust trail.
I appreciated that she talked about lifting heavy helps reduce stress because you're putting, we'll call it positive stress on your body, on your bones, on your joints. And that actually by stressing your body and then giving it rest, you're reducing your mental stress load because you're putting it out through that lifting of the weights. Like I feel that when I lift weights, I feel that when I work out, it just makes you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciated the visual picture that she said that lifting heavy is like putting Spanx on with your own muscles.
Yeah.
She said it actually changes your body composition. So you're not trying to necessarily get bulky. I know that when I first talked to my mom about lifting weights, she was like, you don't want to do that. You're going to get bulky. Well, I think that generationally was the image that women had. Like women didn't lift weights. They did Jane Fonda. I mean, you do aerobics or then step aerobics. And so now that idea of lifting weights, well, it's to lean and it's for strength and it's for your bones. It's for your neural health. And you're putting on your own Spanx.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's like, I like that. Yes.
I've been seeing a lot of Instagram reels about it'll show a woman, do you want these arms? And she has 2-pound weights in her hands, maybe 5. And she's just going like this, like 100 reps or whatever. And my trainer has always said, that is not the way to get those arms. You'll never get those arms that way. That you might get a little endurance that way, but you're not going to build muscle. That you do have to lift heavy. And something my trainer said, and I think the doctor said this too, was she's a little scared to tell women that because you also can get injured lifting heavies. So you want to just rush in if you've never done that before and pick up a 35-pound weight and put it over your head. And,
Right.
You have to work up to it and you kind of need to know what you're doing to avoid injury.
Well, yeah.
True.
And I appreciated that if you are lifting heavy, the reward for that is that you don't have to do as many reps. So if you can manage to just get your mental hurdle over the fact you have to pick up this heavy weight, you don't have to do it as many times. And it's really a lot better for you.
Right.
Yeah, I think the key is to fatigue. That's what my trainer usually says. I want to wear that muscle out to where you can't do anymore.
Right. Yeah. Having a trainer, learning how to do proper movement is really essential because you don't want to hurt yourself. And there's too much possibility for injury there. I did like that Dr. Sims talked about women typically use different diet styles, thinking that we're going to get body composition results. But really, you have to look at your genetic predisposition for your arms, the shape of your legs, things like that. That really lifting heavy will actually get you more body composition results. But sometimes your genetic predisposition is not to have sculpted shoulders. Like you may never get that. You're going to be strong, but you may not get like the arms, Like for me, my arms are very toned, but I can't do enough squats to get the kind of thighs I have always wanted to have. It will never happen.
I think the doctor said that. I can't think of her name. What is her name?
Yes, Dr. Sims.
I think Dr. Sims said the exact same thing, that she gets a lot of compliments on her arms, but she said from the waist down, it just doesn't happen.
Listen, girlfriends, I have all the tank tops in the world, but I don't wear all the shorts in the world. I mean, there's just got to be, your body will respond to certain things. And whatever part of your body responds well, go ahead and just highlight that because you're going to have something.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mindy advice.
And
That's
I think
not actually in the podcast.
like my trainer said, like I know I'll never have big muscles. I just won't. And she said, I don't think you have that body type. And she even goes into the types of muscle fibers you have.
Oh, yeah.
But and she said there are certain clients that I have that I know I can't have them lift too heavy or they will bulk up and they won't like that, you know. So she said I can usually kind of tell by the way they look if that's a concern or not.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to be lifting weights. All right. If you are going to eat before your workout, what does she say the ideal breakfast is? And maybe you don't even eat it all before you work out. Maybe it's split. But what does she say the ideal breakfast is? She kind of lost me a little bit here when she was raving about the protein coffee because I just don't see how that's very nutritious. So she takes double shot of espresso the night before into almond milk and then puts a scoop of protein in it and shakes it up, and then that's her breakfast. And I'm not sure how long she's going on that. I don't know if that's her breakfast from 8 to 12. I don't know if that's her breakfast from 8 to 10, and then she eats a different breakfast. Like, she didn't really say. But I've always been very skeptical of things that aren't really food. Right. And almond milk, I don't really consider it to be this magic food. And putting an artificial scoop of protein powder with some heavy amounts of caffeine just doesn't seem that nutritious and like what the hypothalamus is crying out for in the morning. I don't know. Did that strike you guys as odd or no?
I didn't, and I actually tried it.
Oh, what'd you think?
Well, I just wanted to make one, so I did it 2 nights ago and made it the night before and had it the next day. It was delicious.
Oh, I bet it is good.
But I used the Flav City protein powder, you know, which is basically has dehydrated fruit powder in it and mushroom powder and all that. And I mean, I would rather have a breakfast that had real protein from food, but I trust his protein powder as being healthy. So it was a nice treat. I wouldn't want to make that my breakfast every morning, but I did like how you could just maybe have a little of it or you could take it on the go. Like I could take that to my Bible study. I could take that in the car.
Yeah.
If I needed to not sit down and eat an omelet or, you know what I'm saying?
I guess I could see it as a supplement to real food, but not a substitute in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was pretty high calorie though. So
yeah, but I don't know what you've really gotten. And talk about tired but wired. Double shot of espresso. I don't know. I just am not really getting. I don't think that that's what a nutritionist would say is the best way to start out your day. But I'm not a nutritionist. Maybe that is the best way to start out your day.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll say, and just for me, because I've already said it here, I love intermittent fasting. It's all about your insulin levels and when to kind of wake those up, and your body adjusts. It takes time to adjust to an intermittent fasting, and depending on your cycle, your hormone fluctuations, is really listening to what your body needs. So I feel like the longer I've done this, the more intuitive my eating has become because I don't have just a routine. I specifically start eating at this time and I stop eating at this time every single day. It changes and fluctuates every day now, and every week is different depending on where I'm at in my cycle. As soon as you say woman, you have to include her cycle because our hormone levels are constantly fluctuating. And so I think you have to get to a place where you understand, like, well, what is my body needing? I'm just really hungry today. Then you need to really eat today. Some days you may not be as hungry. And so I think it's good to just kind of listen. Your body will tell you. And I kind of agree with, I'd rather eat whole food. I'd rather have food than feel like I'm going to get my nutrients from drinking something.
Yeah. Maybe we just personally don't agree that the protein coffee is the ideal breakfast, but what would be the ideal breakfast? I kind of feel like I already eat the ideal breakfast.
I was going to say what I eat, I feel like is the ideal breakfast for me. It is.
Well, you guys, I want you to share what you eat. But she mentioned in a nutshell, protein, carbs, and fiber. are things that we should probably get for our breakfast.
She did the overnight oats is what she
did.
recommended.
Yeah, she did overnight oats, berries, and Greek yogurt.
So what I've been eating is, I talked about this recently, like I've been putting fruit most of the time, frozen cherries. Then I put the non-fat, unflavored, organic Greek yogurt on top of that. Then I put honey. I put the organic granola or a seed-based granola. And then I put some coconut. And then I wait for the cherries to melt and I kind of mix it all together and it's delicious. And then in another bowl, I make overnight oats and I put blueberries, honey, coconut, seeds. Like I feel like all of that, those two bowls have a lot of nutrients in them. And it's the first breakfast. I've always been a big breakfast eater. Like I've always eaten like yogurt, an English muffin, cereal. Like I'll eat like 4 things for breakfast. But I feel like this breakfast, these 2 bowls with the yogurt and the overnight oats is the first time in my life where I'm not starving at 10:30. Like sometimes I would have to have a mid-morning snack. I don't necessarily need a mid-morning snack because I feel like there must be a lot of dense nutrients in there that take a long time to break down. So they do last me all morning. So I'm happy with that breakfast, and I feel like it is nutritious. What do you eat, Julie?
Well, I'm happy with my breakfast that I finally, I've been spending 6 months trying to find my breakfast that's clean that I can eat. And I kind of just, instead of looking for more and more things, I just like what I found. And it's basically your breakfast. I mean, I eat the organic Greek yogurt, the strained, it's like 17 grams of protein in a 2/3 cup or whatever, or a cup. And then I put honey on it and I put some kind of fruit, either frozen or fresh. My favorite is pomegranate seeds. And I used to use granola and then I realized it's, almost 200 calories a whole for a little tiny scoop. So I just kind of make that like a condiment now. Just sprinkle it on there.
Yeah, I sprinkle it on there.
Yeah, but I was eating like the serving size and that was just too much. But I'm like you. I don't get hungry till lunch. It holds me. Yeah.
Well, I will share my favorite breakfast, but everybody already knows. Yes. Because breakfast is still my absolute favorite meal, and I'll eat that anywhere between 11 and 2, just depending on the day and how hungry I am. But I've been adding cottage cheese to my scrambled eggs, which I love so much. And then I can put in some vegetables into the eggs. So like fresh spinach, fresh broccoli, things like that. And so I just mix it all in. And then I love to add some sort of like turkey sausage. And then my cinnamon raisin English muffin is not the healthiest thing out there, but it just makes me so happy that that's what I'm eating.
Yeah, I think we do have to have some happy foods for sure.
Oh, it makes me so happy. Even smells good when I'm toasting it. But then I have recently added Greek yogurt, and it's the first time in my life I could stomach it, and I actually like it. So I'm kind of stunned, but also super proud of myself. I'm like, way to go, Mindy. You're really adulting today.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Greek yogurt has a lot of protein in it. It's an easy way to get it.
Yeah, I can't eat enough eggs to get that much protein.
Yeah.
So I like to have it dense. And I've heard this little rule of thumb is, and it's not saying you have to eat this way, but if you want to know if something is a protein dense food, multiply the number of grams of protein by 10. Say like the yogurt has 100 calories per serving and 200 calories per serving and say 17 grams of protein. Well, 17 times 10 is 170. If it's below the number of calories, it's not a high density, not a high protein dense food. But if it's equal to the calories or more, it is. So
interesting.
Okay. So actually, I got that wrong. I think my yogurt says 110 per serving. So if it's got 17 and 17 times 10 is 170, that is a very protein dense food.
Right. That makes sense.
It's just a kind of a quick way to look at things. And it's not saying that it's not enough protein. It's just helping you know, is this a protein dense food?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I was eating a lot of nuts, a lot of nuts for protein. And when you look at the calories and you multiply, do that little math thing, you're really eating a fat that happens to have some protein. It does have protein, but you're eating a fat. And so I thought, That's not working
Yeah.
too
I was going
good.
to say that's sometimes people get lost with peanut butter. Same thing. You think it's protein, but you got to see it as a fat.
Yeah.
It's kind of low protein considering everything else it has.
Right. No, that's a good point, Julie. Yeah. Well, definitely in this podcast, and I think unless you're intermittent fasting, the point that I was taking away was that a healthy breakfast is a good way to start the day for many women. And if you have been in the habit of saying, well, I'm not going to eat breakfast, I'm going to do it after my workout, or I don't want to eat breakfast because I'm going to gain weight if I eat breakfast, like maybe rethink that according to this podcast and a lot of other research, eating first thing in the day, like she was saying, like if you start eating at 8 and you end around 6, studies show that you get a lot of benefits from that. And I can just see like intuitively how that would be like that. She talks about the grandparent diet and, how people used to eat. And I feel like it's very intuitive to, if you are going to eat 3 meals a day, to separate them into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I don't know. It just seems intuitive to me.
Well, and just the circadian rhythm studies, like when you're awake and it's daylight, you're eating, and then when it's dark and it's not, you're not eating, and just kind of what that's signaling to your body, what you're gearing up for in the day. And she said it helped with sleep, so I don't know.
Well, on this regard, I would just highly recommend, if you're interested in even looking at intermittent fasting, reading a book by Dr. Mindy Pelz, because she is a holistic functional medicine doctor. And I really appreciate the research that she has done looking at this. And I'll even say from personal experience, balancing out my hormonal shifts has really been good with intermittent fasting. Having had some complications and then seeing those improve with intermittent fasting. Like I said, not necessarily following specific hours every day, but I think that there's a lot of health benefits to letting your body rest. And so I choose to follow that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, the next part of the podcast was about why strong women stress less. So what did you guys take from this section?
Well, Mindy's already mentioned that she calls exercise a stress, that you're putting your body under a stress. Like when you walk up a hill, your body's under stress and you're going to get tired. But then the next day and the next day, if you keep doing this, you're actually just your body's adapting to be able to handle it. And I think she said that just kind of applies to when emotional stressors come in, your body is better able to handle that. Is that what you guys got out of that?
Yeah. She said, like, maybe you won't yell at your spouse or your kid, or, you won't lose it if you've already been stressed out in the gym. If you stressed your body by in the gym, normal everyday stresses may not stress you as much. I've never really heard that correlation before, but it could make sense.
Okay, listen, so many times in exercise class, women will comment like, I was going to hurt my family if I didn't come here today.
That's true. I've heard that.
Like, mom was losing it. And so there's definitely times, if I'm angry or stressed or whatever, or even tired, going to work out is the best medicine by focusing on that. And then you'll notice like how much better you feel when you then.
Yeah, it seems so simple, but I have a feeling we have no idea all the intricacies and all the chemical changes in your body when you exercise that affect so many things and your mind included.
Well, we always have heard that exercise induces endorphins. So you can see how if you had those endorphins moving around your brain, how you would be more able to deal with stressful situations. Or maybe they just wouldn't bother you as much. I don't know. Or maybe in my mind, I'm so happy that I already lifted today and I don't have to worry about it tomorrow that it makes me a happier person.
Hey, there you go. Check. Yes.
All right. This advice helped thousands of women get stronger. What was the advice?
Adding strength training in. She said by the time we're 30, we're starting to lose muscle. And so we have heavier lifting. Also, as we get older, along with losing muscle, the brain metabolism and the neuroplasticity are also declining as we get older. And so to reverse that cognitive decline, adding in that strength training will also help improve that. Because it gives signals to the brain to be more plastic to kind of move and grow as your muscles have to also lift heavy and do hard things, do those stressful things you're asking it to do. So it makes our brain improve while also improving overall metabolism. It reduces changes of cognitive issues. It can actually improve those, even just brain fog, but it helps keep our minds sharp and running and functioning the way that they are supposed to. So basically, in a nutshell, it gives us a good body and a good mind. All in all, it's helping our minds and our bodies to be more flexible. That's kind of what I took from this section of the podcast.
Yeah, I like hearing that it improves your mind. Not just your mood, but actually could improve your memory and cognitive abilities. That's encouraging. One thing I think she talked about it in this section, this is just kind of a specific thing, another difference between men and women and how a lot of this is designed is in the lifting more weights, I think she prefers free weights because and I liked this because my trainer totally agreed that picking up a free weight more accurately simulates how we really move. So like when you pick up a free weight, you have to use all your stabilizing muscles too. Whereas if you're on a machine, it's like you're just moving that arm, just moving that leg. And she said, so like when you go, like if in real life, if you go to pick up a big bag of heavy mulch, you're not just going to pick it up with your arm. You're using your core, your back, your legs. And, and I appreciate that with my trainer because she tries to involve all of that, and the machines just don't give you that. And she said the machines were designed for a man's body. So they're usually a little bit too big and that can predispose you to injury too. So
I love your trainer, Julie. She teaches she teaches what I love to teach. If you can think about compound movement, if your body and the powerhouse, your core, the powerhouse of your body is stabilizing to move the dumbbells or to do a lateral movement or a lunge movement, front to back, side to side, all different directions. Think about how you make your bed, how you walk up the stairs. If you trip, how you catch yourself. I mean, these are functional movements. So if you can record your core to compound move, and you're not just isolating a bicep or an inner thigh. I mean, nobody moves like that. You move your whole body. And so if you can simulate that in a workout and then add weight to it so that when you're living your life, it's easy, that's what you're really going for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And she even talked about if you are doing those compound movements, you might not ever need to do another stomach crunch because your core is getting worked out another way.
Yes. Yeah. Your core does absolutely every movement, even a squat, even upper body. Your core is what's holding all of that together.
Yeah. And that was another difference between men and women because she was saying that men, they will respond more to specific movements. Like they can do a bunch of crunches and it really is helping their abs, but not so much for women. So that was interesting. This was interesting for me. The exercise routine designed for women. So one of the more interesting things she talked about was doing like exercise sprints. So like every minute on the minute, you would change it. This is my very least favorite type of exercise.
Right.
And so I can't remember exactly what it was. Mindy, you can feel free to correct me, but I feel like there was, I don't know. You describe it, Mindy. Do you remember? It was like 1 minute of...
Yes. Well, I don't want to talk like she used some specific examples. And I think more my takeaway wasn't on the specifics of what she said, like every minute on the minute, just for 3 minutes. I think... really the mentality here is if you're doing an all-out movement at capacity where you are fatigued, you should only do that for a short amount of time, 20, 30 seconds. And then you really need to give yourself a time to get fully recovered. Think about your heart rate, like your breathing comes back to normal. And then you can go into that all-out anaerobic state again for just a short amount of time. So we call this HIIT workout, high intensity interval training. And if you are doing a HIIT workout, if you're getting your heart rate to that all out anaerobic where you can't talk while you're doing that, that's how you know you're doing it in that anaerobic state. You should only do that at a maximum for maybe 20 minutes. like sometimes I think women have this idea that if we're going to do a HIIT workout, it needs to be an hour long. That is way too much. If you're getting to that state where you can't talk and you're that fatigued, you only need maybe 20 minutes of that. So that's a HIIT workout. If you're doing a longer endurance workout, think about a walk. You're more of at a steady state. So your heart rate gets up, but it's more steady state for a long period of time. You can do a long walk like that.
Mhm.
And so here she talked about just, we have less recovery time than what a man would have. And so our bodies are fatigue resistant, was the term that she used.
Had you ever
And
heard
so
that before, Mindy?
I
Was that
had not heard the
Yeah.
fatigue resistant. But basically, we just don't need as much recovery time. Our bodies are flexible enough. We have good endurance fibers. So you can really do more training in less amount of time than a man. So maybe don't have the old mentality of if I'm going to work out, it has to be an hour long. I think that's the idea we need to get rid of, is that it has to be an hour, it has to be 2 hours or whatever. Is if you're training and you're training well, you don't need an hour.
Mhm.
Mhm. I like
Yeah.
that.
I went to lift weights with my son last, I don't know, it was sometime last year. And we went just to the neighborhood gym. He was like, I'm going to show you what you need to be doing. And he had me doing heavier weights for a shorter amount of time. But he also had me waiting like a long time between sets. And he listens to like a lot of fitness podcasts. And she talks about the bro science in this podcast. And I feel like my son is probably like following all the bro science. And it probably does tell you to wait for men a long time between sets. But I do not need to sit there for 5 minutes scrolling my phone between sets. Like, I want to get in there, get it done, and leave.
Right.
And he was like making fun of me, saying, if you don't wait long enough, it's not good for your muscles. But I felt validated with her saying that in this podcast, that women do not need to wait that long between sets.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to go back to the gym with him, Marie, and be like, I just don't take as long as you. Like, my body has already recovered. I'm sorry it takes you so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, like thinking back to creation, what women's bodies might have been designed for, like just never ending task and like all these kids and preparing dinner. Like it wasn't like burst of energy like a man was going out to kill the food. It was just constant.
Right. Right.
Well, let me say, if I can give just an idea of, I do teach fitness classes that are an hour long, and you just heard me say you shouldn't be doing these exercises for an hour. I plan that hour. We have like an 8-minute warm up. Okay. That's like some dynamic movement, stretching, that you're moving through stretching, basically. We'll do bursts and fatigue our lower bodies or upper bodies, but we're going to use heavy weights. We're going to use body resistance weights. We're going to stretch in between sets because we're going to make the most of the hour. We're going to have 2 sections of HIIT, and those can be modified depending on where you're at in your cycle and how you're feeling, joints, things like that. But you can't fill the whole hour with heavy lifting. So I'm just giving you that idea that if you're doing an hour, you really can like get to an hour if you're including stretching, some body resistance movements, some dynamic stretching, things like that. And you can add a little cardio if you want to.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's talk about the next section, which was getting stronger starts in the kitchen, not the gym. And what did she mean by that?
Men say everybody knows abs are built in the kitchen. And she said, like, a couple will often say, hey, let's both cut out sugar or let's both cut out alcohol. And then the man drops 20 pounds and nothing happens to the woman. And she said that women, have higher body fat, tend to store body fat. And when we diet and take in less food, we're like, we're in a lower energy state. Our metabolism drops and our hypothalamus says, hey, where are all those calories I need? And so you kind of start storing fat. And one thing I appreciated, she said, if you're going to start to eat cleaner, you still have to make sure you get all those calories because it's going to take more food to get the right amount of calories. Because, everybody has said, your husband can drop weight easily. And my trainer said, it's not like we're doing it wrong or it was designed against it. That's just the way it is. Like that's the way our bodies are,
Right.
designed.
I appreciated that she talked about that. She also said women have a higher percent body fat. And so it's going to require calories. You have to have calories for your body to get to a point of letting go of what you don't need. Also, our bodies have a long memory. If it's used to fad diets and diet culture, it's going to take a while to kind of retrain your microbiome and get to a place that's healthy and you can get more into an intuitive eating. But having whole foods and rich foods that are good for your bodies, you still have to have enough calories for your body to know that it's not in starvation mode, because our bodies are beautifully and wonderfully made, and they're always going to try to come back to neutral. If you have gained a lot of weight, it didn't happen overnight. You're not going to lose weight overnight. It's going to take consistency and time and really having a peace about it, because your body will constantly be trying to come back to neutral. And so part of my story is that it really took 2 months of consistent change before my body was like, oh, okay, we're not starving. We've just added exercise and we've changed your foods. Well, I changed everything overnight, but my body didn't let anything go for 2 months. And so sometimes you can be at a month and you're like, I have changed everything and my body's not letting go. It will, but it's a really smart system and it's not gonna gain weight that fast, nor will it lose weight that fast.
Okay, everything you need to know for your first time at the gym. They talked about that. I've heard women say that they can be intimidated by the gym.
I totally appreciated what she said about, the gyms being kind of geared toward men, because I have always shied away from gyms. Gym culture is highly intimidating, like the women that are there, they're in shape, and I just they know what they're doing. I remember being intimidated thinking, I don't know how to use the machine. Like, I'm not going to go take it from somebody. And I'm reading the sign, I'm figuring it out. I mean, you're going to see the videos online of people using the machines wrong. Well, I gravitated towards a place where I felt comfortable, and I felt comfortable more around women. And so I did gravitate to exercise classes, but I also gravitated to hiring a trainer for a period of time. And so then I learned that I really love dumbbells and walking and all the things you could find in an exercise class. And there's so many different classes out there. I don't know. I just think that there's so many different boutique gyms, big gyms, small gyms, personal training classes, friends that you can get together with, that there's got to be something that you can find where you feel comfortable, because I still don't like gyms.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I liked that she mentioned also several different YouTube things that you could be doing, which that's what I've been doing this year, because I was driving to a class and I was really good about going, because when you're paying money every month, you're like, well, I'm going to go. But I just got tired of having to be somewhere at a certain time and get up and do it the second I woke up. And I don't know, I just had moved past that, wanting to do that. But then that means if you are doing it on your own, you have to be good about actually doing it. So there's a trade-off. Like sometimes paying and going to something, is the way to motivate yourself. And you have to kind of learn like who you are and what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that,
some of us
Marie.
need the outside accountability.
Yeah, listen, some of us need the accountability of teaching, or they just wouldn't do a doggone thing.
Yeah. All right, cold plunging and sauna. Okay, I am never going to be cold plunging, ever.
Me either.
But I did like,
why?
I did like that she said it's different for men and women, and she kind of went through that women really only need to go to like 55 degrees, and she shared the specific physiological reasons why that's cold enough. I mean, you are just not going to find me even going to 55, but if you wanted to do a cold plunge, there's really no reason as a woman for you to be going to 32. So
I can think of a lot of reasons I shouldn't be going to 32. I mean, she says something like that women don't shiver or something.
Yes.
And I thought, I spend my life shivering. I shiver in my house when it's 65 degrees,
There you go.
I'm not going to be jumping in any cold water. I'm sorry.
Right.
Just because we used to at the beginning of time,
Yeah.
Right.
And then also saunas. I'm not going to go and sit in any saunas. Okay, I want to work out I want the whole amount of my time devoted to workouts to be as short as possible. So to add on time then to go and sit in a sauna, no, I want to be done. I want to chalk this off my list. I know it might be relaxing, but I'm never going to do it. But do you guys have experience with saunas?
Well, let me just say I'm never doing hot yoga either. I'm already hot when I'm in there sweating,
Amen, sister.
I'm sorry. You can tell me how great it is for you, but I'm not doing it.
And if you're menopausal, you're getting that at home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Look, I have hot flashes in my car. No. No, I've heard a lot of health benefits, but I'm not cold nor hot.
Yeah. I don't want to be adding in extra things, although she did say there were health benefits. She also said there's health benefits to possibly taking creatine for women.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when my boys wanted to take creatine and I was a nervous wreck. Their kidneys were going to shut down.
Yeah.
Of course, they were like, that's not true, Mom, and they've added it. But she did say, it was very small. It was like half a teaspoon or I don't know. It was very small. And she was describing all the benefits. Again, I'm just not big on adding supplements and things that I drink, but could be that is something for somebody that they would, enjoy doing. I mean, she had, there's so many things that you could do. I feel like it could be a 24-hour a day job. Trying to be as healthy as you could be.
Yeah, yes. It's true. I think there were a lot of good takeaways. Clearly, we each get to choose. We have so many choices, how we want to eat, how we want to exercise, how you want to rest, things like that. And so I think the benefit of all of the conversations is that there's something for everybody. And so you don't have to agree with everything. That doesn't really matter. I think the point is, and she made it towards the end, just start moving 10 minutes a day. So I think that sometimes women can hear these conversations and feel like there's so many things they're not doing and it stresses them out. And they're like, I don't even know where to start. Everyone's an expert. They're all telling me to do different things. Even Mindy, Julie, Marie, they think differently about certain things. And I think that's healthy because I hope that gives you the freedom to choose, not to just follow someone, but to kind of start just paying attention. Exercise. If you hate being in a gym, don't go. Like there are ways you can start moving and exercising. If there's certain foods you hate, don't eat them. Right. Find things that are enjoyable to you and just start there. And I think that you'll be in a good forward motion with your health.
Yeah.
I think ultimately people land on something that works for them. And then we all think that everyone should do the exact same thing, but you do have to find something that works for you. So this episode that we listened to was a good reminder that there are so many choices out there.
I know I shared with my endocrinologist something about a book I was reading, and he kind of rolled his eyes, and and he just said, and I said, I'm not just like totally embracing everything this person said. I was just asking him some questions, and he said, my best advice is when you read something where someone claims to be the only person in the world that knows this, beware. They may be onto something, but maybe not. And my other reason to be skeptical is these people all want to make money. And I hate that it always has to be tied to money. I wish it could just really be helpful information and getting the science out there without it being tied to them making millions of dollars, because it really skews, it makes me more skeptical.
I think any of this you have to go into with skepticism and take away certain things. So I appreciate that the listener brought her to our attention. Yeah. I'm going to think about her, when I'm making decisions. And I appreciated that there are reasons for what she said, and those things will probably stick with me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. It was definitely worth listening to.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, listeners, we'd love to know what you think about Dr. Stacy Sims, if you've listened to anything by her, or what you just think about fitness in midlife in general, or if you have anything that you would like to hear us talk about. You can come and find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
Okay, in an effort to not beat a dead horse, I am going to go ahead and share and provide the link for the book that I have referenced throughout the podcast because I really do love it. I've learned a lot. It's called Fast Like a Girl. It's by Dr. Mindy Pelz, Pelz. She is a nutritionist and a functional medicine expert.
Mm-hmm.
And I just appreciate reading about hormonal shifts in women, what she's found. She shares some recipes. She talks about when not to fast. She talks about when longer fasts might be good. And honestly, I just kind of really enjoy this topic in general. And so anytime there's an expert, I'm going to give a listen and see what is a good takeaway for me. But this has been an enjoyable book, so I'd love to share it.
Mm-hmm. You've gotten a lot out of that book, and I do think that would provide a good counterpart or counter kind of different opinion versus what we heard today.
Well, and a friend and I were talking about this at my workout the other day, and she said, I always go back to fasting is biblical. So I know it's not going to hurt you. I guess it just depends on how you do it and how often and, and all that. But it is a biblical thing to do. So I know it's possible to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
All right, I'm a fan of a show. Yeah, as I've been talking recently that I don't watch much TV, now I've listed 2 things that I've watched as I'm a fan. But one night I just saw it and clicked on it. I was immediately hooked within the first 5 minutes.
Oh.
And it is called Ludwig. It's a series on BritBox. It's on Prime, but through BritBox. And it's a mystery suspense with humor. It's very quirky and funny, but it is a British crime mystery thing.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and the premise is this woman's husband disappears and leaves a note, and she needs to get back into his office. He works in a police department, and she needs to get back into his office to get his notes because she wants to know what he was working on and all that. Well, he has a twin brother.
Oh, interesting.
So she gets him to go back in the office. And you can imagine all the things that would come up. Like, just because they look alike, they're not the same people and they don't know what's going on. And he's just so funny.
Oh.
And it's not like it's a comedy, but there's a lot of humor in it. So my thing was, though, it was 5 episodes, I thought. So one night I stayed up till like 2 a.m. watching 2 because I wanted to finish it because, I was like, oh, the 5th episode's coming up. I want to finish it. Well, it's being released weekly on BritBox.
No way.
I got to the end of the 5th and I was like, well, that didn't resolve anything. So I think the 6th episode, it came out today. And so I'll get to watch it and be done. But
Julie, they pulled you in. Now you're going to be waiting every week.
And I heard that they are planning a season 2. So
nice. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll put a link to that in our show notes. All right. This week, I'm also a fan of a show, and this show only had 2 seasons, so it's not. You can watch the whole entire thing. I kind of like that when you don't have to wait for them to make another season.
Mm-hmm.
Although I wish it would have had a 3rd because I enjoyed it so much. Okay, so it's called The Paradise on Prime. And it's a period drama following a young girl as she navigates the world of the first English department store. And it explores the themes of love, ambition, the impact of the department store on the lives of those who work and shop there. And I felt like it was kind of like a Downton Abbey, but in a department store. It was so cute. It probably had 8 episodes for each season. And if you just want something to just fun to watch, I don't think really men would enjoy it, but I like to have a show that I just enjoy. And I really did enjoy The Paradise.
Yeah, a friend had recommended that to me, and I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes, but I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking of you, Julie, thinking that you would enjoy it. Yeah, you would enjoy it, especially because it does take place in London, your favorite place. Yeah. Okay, all right, Julie and Mindy, I enjoyed this discussion with you, and I'm glad this listener brought this topic to our attention. It was something that was really informative for me.
It will always be relevant for us to talk about.
True.
Yes, true.
And send any other expert opinions our way.
Yeah, we'll talk about all of them.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay.
Sounds great. Bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.